Hey, you're going to be okay. I'm Elizabeth May, and my functional health practice helps people heal when they've exhausted traditional options. When no one else can figure your health challenges out, my team helps you resolve symptoms and restores your health. You're listening to my podcast where we'll hear stories of healing chronic illness from a root cause approach. Welcome back to the podcast. We are moving right back into client stories, and I'm really excited about today because we're going to talk about the power of a simple intake. Sometimes moving into functional care can feel like this huge, expensive, complex thing, and sometimes we do absolutely need testing, but oftentimes, especially with children, we can get a lot done with an intake. So I'm going to talk with Megan today. We have seen multiple people in her family, and we're just going to kind of walk through what care has looked like for them, what things they've experienced, what good has come from care, and just talk through that. So Megan, what kind of brought you to Hey May in the first place, and what brought you to schedule a clarity call back in the day when we started with your family?
Yeah, so I definitely wanted to schedule a clarity call because I'm used to doing the whole let's find the root cause approach with my daughter. So I wanted to do that for myself. I wanted to just kind of skip over going to the doctor because I have better luck with the whole root cause approach for me. So I reached out, I think back in January of 2022, and I was 16 months postpartum at the time. And I was just feeling super run down, low energy, body odor issues. My hair was shedding. When I was brushed my hair, a bunch of hair would just come out. And I just felt like something was off in my body. Like my hormones were just not where they needed to be. So that's why I wanted to reach out to you guys, because I've seen you online doing your thing and fixing a bunch of people, and I wanted to get fixed myself.
Yeah. And so also you shared in there that you had some hair loss and you had been through a root cause approach with your daughter. And at that time, you just shared with me that your oldest daughter had autoimmune alopecia. So like the hair loss, I think, was also like double triggery because you've got that going on in your house, and you have your own stuff going on too.
Exactly.
And where were you just like in the context of life? You were postpartum, but you had, how many kids had you had at that point?
So at that point, I only had 4.
Okay, only 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, only 4, but I have 5 now, right? Only 4.
Yeah. And then we started care in June, and at that point, you'd like just had a little bit of a antibiotic round. You'd had mastitis, and you're young, like your 4 are relatively back to back, and so it was kind of perfect timing to kind of address some depletions and look at hormone stuff. So, what did we start with when we started with you?
As far as like our protocol.
Yeah, well, care-wise, we started with an intake and just the hormone panel, right?
Right. And then I think we did the GI map and the Dutch panel.
Yeah. So we started with the hormone piece, and we looked at that, and we found kind of some key markers that pointed to some blood sugar instability and then some gut issues maybe. We found some estrogen, androgen issues and kind of dialed those things in. And then we did recommend GI mapping and blood panel, which led us to find some more things.
Right.
At that time, you were nursing. So I kind of want to hear too about like, how did it feel to go through that process, get testing back, know that we were getting data, and then having to implement a plan while parenting 3 and nursing a 4th? What was that part like?
So for me, it wasn't that hard because I'm already used to changing and adapting since I have one with autoimmune issues already. So it was kind of like, okay, like I've done this before, so I can do this again. It honestly wasn't too hard for me. I think the hardest thing for me was eating before drinking my coffee. That was a huge thing. Like that was like the one thing I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. But honestly, that was probably the biggest thing that I needed to do because that set me up for the day. If I didn't eat before I had my coffee, like there was lots of highs and low energies all throughout the day. So that, I mean, it wasn't too hard to implement like supplements and just changing a few like regular like diet, daily habits and things like that.
Yeah. Did you feel improvements in energy or feeling like you were, I always say after somebody's had babies, we just need to like literally shore you up. We need to like replete the nutrients. Did you feel like you felt a change pretty quickly into the protocol? And did you feel maybe like limited at all by nursing, or did it just feel like,
Definitely. I felt like the energy was back relatively quickly, honestly. Once I was balancing those meals more, adding more like fats, more greens, I could just definitely tell the difference in my digestion, my energy levels, everything. So pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah. I love that. And I think too, it's, those were 3 tests that we did, and we're talking about doing an intake here and it being kind of simple, which we'll get to kids and it was more simple for them. But when we're talking about postpartum stuff, it's helpful for us to have data on how a gut is, because our gut and our digestive function even changes when we're pregnant. And then obviously having children is stressful. It's a good stressor, but that changes how our digestive tract works. And then I always think too, and say a lot, like, a lot of our job is just being educators and educating us on things that like we didn't learn. Like we didn't grow up and have anybody teach us why fat is really helpful for keeping you full, because we grew up in like the low fat phase, or we didn't learn how to eat to regulate our blood sugar, and all those kind of like simple things. When someone just gives them to you in the list, like just go do this, right, can totally change your day to day. So,
and when someone gives you a piece of paper and writes it all down for you, it makes it so much easier. Sometimes you just need somebody else to tell you what to do instead of just guessing. So that was nice.
I relate to that a lot.
Yeah.
Because even in this space, like, right, I could treat myself, and sometimes I do, but also handing it over to someone else to be like, here are your things to do. This is what's going to work. This is your path, is really, really helpful and frankly refreshing when you have babies.
Yes. Tell me what to do.
Yeah. So overall, the impact of the intake and that short little blip of testing for you, how would you kind of like sum it up?
It was just, honestly, it was quick and easy for me. Out of the 3 of us that worked with you, I was able to just get those supplements in quick, balance the meals, eat before drinking coffee. And I was kind of feeling back to myself pretty quick. I mean, and it was great. So I knew after working with you, if any of my other kids had any issues, you would be the one that I'd be calling.
I love that. Makes me happy. So let's talk about the next time you did call us. So moving forward to March of 2024, we moved into care for your son. We again just started with an intake, but no labs initially, because we kind of you had a pretty good pulse. Like I would say I hate the word crunchy mom, but like you're aware, you can do the things, you can take care of your kids. You definitely like were in the know of what was going on. So what was Blaze experiencing at the time that we got back together and started working on him?
Yeah. So he first had the stomach bug. Well, we all had the stomach bug at my house. And he typically gets out of an illness pretty quick. He jumps back into life pretty quick. He did not recover great. So he was laying in bed for days, which is very unlike him. And then all of a sudden he said that his throat hurt. So me being the crunchy mom that I am, started giving him things that I know that would help: vitamin C, honey, all like the tinctures, all that kind of stuff. And he just wasn't getting better. He would lay on the couch for days, and I just knew something was wrong. So I did end up taking him to the doctor, something I don't like to do, but I just felt like my mom gut was telling me I needed to. And he did test positive for strep. And since I had tried all of those things, I was like, okay, maybe just 1 round of antibiotics for him will be okay. And he hadn't had antibiotics in years. So he did the antibiotics and he improved for a few days. But then he was still falling asleep early, not wanting to get up. He wasn't eating, still complaining that his throat hurt, that his belly hurt. He was coming home from school and sleeping for 1 to 2 hours. And then he would sleep like super long stretches from like 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. So yeah, he was doing all of that. And some other symptoms he had, he was crying, like when he would wake up. He didn't want to go to school. He had a lot of symptoms. He had a lot of, I mean, it was just crazy. It was all over the place. He was doing these like blank stares, not answering questions when we would ask him. So I did reach out to his doctor again, and she sent him for blood work to test. Maybe he had like mono or something. All of his blood work was normal. So I was like, that's weird. And then I remembered hearing about PANDAS. And I know that you had worked with people who had PANDAS. So I reached out to you, and you pretty much confirmed that's likely what he had. And then, I mean, soon after working with you, man, he was like night and day. We did the supplements, and he was doing great. It was insane.
Quick break. If you've been curious about homeopathy, this is your sign to try it. At Hey Hey Homeopathics, we've created liquid remedies for everything from sleep and skin to digestion and beyond. Safe, gentle, and designed for real life. And if you're a practitioner, our preferred professionals line opens the door to powerful tools like no-sodes, miasms, detoxers, and more. Anyone can shop, but professionals can apply for exclusive access. Visit heyheyhomeopathics.com and start your path to natural healing today. You know what I love about Blaze's story is that, like, PANDAS is this very large, overwhelming, frankly, thing, because a child can regress very quickly. And like you said, symptoms can be all over the place. So he was kind of having like little bits of the side pieces, like panicky episodes. He would say like, I don't know why I feel like this. I don't feel good. But then he would also have like, he just feels like this, but couldn't really say anything else about it.
He had no answers.
Yeah. Just in meltdowns at school, which were new for him, and some separation anxiety. He was avoiding eye contact and afraid of new people, which wasn't like him. So for me, I hear all of that, and very quickly I'm like, oh, strep's in the party, whether it's the whole party or it's just a member at the party. But I mean, there were little eye ticks going on too, which was another flag for me. And we talked briefly through history at first, and it kind of lined up too. There was a past history of a stint where he had frequent ear infections, never had to have tubes, but early on in those early toddler days, he'd had kind of some rounds. And you also do take really good care of your kids and like start on things as soon as you see stuff. So sometimes when I have a mom who is smart and does that and is like really proactive, then we don't get too far. But there can be an incident where you've got the stomach bug seem to be the immune trigger that just like pushed his little apple cart over to where he couldn't get it back together and get the strep together. So protocol wise, we did the intake call. Again, when kids are little, there's not a huge long health history. So usually our first call is 90 minutes. With a small kid, it's often shorter, and we're able to kind of stretch those calls out to be 3. But we started looking back with 3 things in addition to what you were already doing. And things that you were doing were just a basic probiotic, fish oil. He was on a spore biotic and like a liver support. So nothing wildly complex, but then we agreed to kind of check in a month later. And do you remember where he was at that point when we regrouped and you had started protocol?
Oh, I think after his protocol, he was doing great pretty soon after. I mean, it did not take long. I will say that about maybe 6 months later after all of this, he did have another episode where he was acting kind of panda-y, like saying his throat hurt. We got him back on the protocol, and he was golden. I mean, after a few days. I mean, it was crazy.
Oh, yeah, it makes me so happy because PANDAS just feel like this big and terrible and awful thing. And it absolutely can be. And we see kids who are so complex and they have lots of other infections besides the strep. But in a child who's under the age of like 8, 9, their immune system's still developing. So it's pretty easy to get their immune system calculated back at killing the pathogen that's there that shouldn't be. And that's part of that very simple protocol that we did for him, was rewiring his immune system against the strep. And then you quickly saw he was back to sleeping in his own room. He was calmer at school. Those panicky episodes had gone really down. And the thing for me where I knew like, okay, we're out of the, I don't know, not danger zone, but like we're out of the thick of it, was you told me he's been able to learn new skills like hula hooping. And that sounds like a little something, but that's a huge sign of neurodevelopmental growth. And so many systems that are affected by the brain inflammation, when the brain is not well and it is inflamed, they're going to struggle with hula hooping. They don't want to swing. They don't want to do repetitive physical motion that bothers the brain. So those were good little things. But so you mentioned he had the one recurrence of strep, and then after that, have you, health-wise, do you feel like he's gone back and held? It's been a while. I mean, it's been... Oh my God.
Yeah, he has been great since then. There have been no other occurrences. So I'm crossing my fingers with school starting that nothing starts up again. But man, it's like night and day.
And if something does start up, I think one of the important things that we as practitioners really work on is making sure that you as moms know what to do, right? Because he's going to go to school, he's going to be around other kids, he's going to go to activities and be around children and adults who also have strep, but that doesn't mean that he has to revert back to it, because you know how to care for him if and when that happens. And I think that part is really key for families who have either delved into and dealt with full-blown PANDAS or have dipped their toe in. So
Right.
Next on our list was this year you reached out and were like, I think we need to see another kid in care. And who was that kiddo? And tell me kind of where was she when we got back together?
Yeah. So I reached out about Olivia. She's my oldest. So she had a bout with alopecia when she was 4, and we hadn't had any reoccurrences until this past year. So she had pneumonia in the beginning of the school year, so last August. And she was out for a while. Like, she was on the couch for like the first week and a half of school. Didn't know she had pneumonia, but she had a really bad cough, and she usually gets that every year. So just trying to take care of that naturally and holistically. But that was not working either. So my mom gut said, okay, we need to take her to the ER, see if she has pneumonia, because it could be really serious. So we did take her to the ER, and they confirmed she did have pneumonia. And so we ended up doing antibiotics, which I have not done that on her since she was little bitty, because I learned my lesson early on. But with her having pneumonia and her not improving, she was just so miserable. I did it. And knowing what I know now, would I have done that? No, but you keep learning, you know? So we did the antibiotic, and she was fine. Like, for months, she snapped right out of it. And then in February, I started seeing right above her ear, she started to lose some. So that was on high alert for me. And then throughout the next few months, more and more on her hairline just started to fall out, which was really scary because it was very triggering, because I thought we were past it. Because we were good for 5 years. We, learned how to treat it holistically. And I honestly, I didn't know what caused it other than the antibiotic. So, so that's when I reached out to you guys. I'm like, well, what's going on? I mean, I don't really know what to do at this point.
Yeah. And she had been like in that season, like you said, she'd kind of tiptoed into more cyclical illness, having the seasonal sickness cough every year. So it kind of gave us some clues to piece things together. And this time you worked with Abby, one of our lead practitioners, and looking through her notes, like, you guys talked through health history. Olivia had eczema, some cradle cap, ear infections early on. You guys had removed gluten, and that really improved skin issues and helped with the hair issues. The alopecia seemed to come after 4-year vaccination, so that was a little flag for us as to timeline. And she'd previously gone down some holistic routes, right? Because you guys figured out, or at least some diagnostics, like she'd had H. pylori and some candida. She'd done around a nystatin. And then she got in hair regrowth at that point. So it was after this recent sickness that things came back. And I just want to affirm too, this is a hill I will die on, that antibiotics are not bad. They are helpful, and they can be life-saving, and they can be so important. If my kiddos or myself needed them, I'm 100% doing them. And I'm also a big fan of get the script and do what you can, because sometimes, like ear infections, for example, most of them are actually viral. So an antibiotic isn't even going to affect what's going on in the ear. You're just going to corrode the gut health a bit. So there's a time and a place, and learning more about why or why not is the key piece that I think we need more in our parenting communities, because they've gotten a bad rap. And we do. We have plenty of bacteria that are antibiotic resistant. You have to match a right one to the pathogen. That's becoming even more of an important thing after COVID. But knowing that didn't work for her, one of the recommendations Abby made was like, let's figure out exactly what we have going on here labs wise. And I think she recommended, you guys ended up doing labs through your pediatrician for the strep mycoplasma.
We did.
Yeah. And so that's another way where we do our best to work with providers who are happy to work with us. And we can say, hey, go and get these labs drawn. If you can get those covered by insurance, we're happy about that. We can order that too. But when those came back, do you remember what Olivia's results were when you guys got them back from the pediatrician?
Yeah. So she tested for strep, which I had no inkling that she had strep. She was sick a little bit in April, like around her birthday, but never complained of throat pain, which I know strep isn't always throat pain. But so she tested for strep and she tested for mycoplasma, which is the walking pneumonia.
Yeah. Mycoplasma
which is
one we don't talk enough about, I don't think. And I really wish more pediatricians and traditional providers ran mycoplasma labs or a full respiratory panel that includes mycoplasma, because it can create that pneumonia type presentation. It can also hang for a long time. Mycoplasma is a bacteria that does not have a cell wall, so it can kind of move about the body however it wants to. It also makes it difficult to eradicate. So oftentimes when we use antibiotics with mycoplasma, it's really hard to just straight kill it all. We have to address the immune system and teach the immune system, hey, this mycoplasma bacteria is bad. It is not allowed to live here in the body, even though it does weird things that bacteria don't do, because most bacteria have a cell wall and they can't move freely. So her IgG and her IgM levels for mycoplasma were high, indicating both a chronic and an acute infection. And I think there were maybe a little bit more lab work that showed just general immune activation too.
Right.
So you guys moved right into a really simple homeopathic protocol and some gut healing support. And remember, like, the big issue here at this point in February was her hair was falling out. The pneumonia piece had really passed. She'd had a little sickness, but that was more the presenting issue, was the hair fall, and not so much that she still was actively exhibiting pneumonia, though her lab showed that infection was chronically existing for her. So what was protocol like? Was it easy to implement with a 10-year-old? Tell me about that. And then where is she now?
It was super easy to implement. She's used to taking capsules and powders, so she's been doing that for lots of years. So it was super easy to implement that. But yeah, so now she's doing super great. It's growing. It started growing back within days of starting her protocol, which was amazing to me, because in the past it's taken up to a year with just me playing a guessing game, just buying supplements and changing diet. But like, this time, like, we didn't have to really change diet much at all. We just did the supplements, and within days, I mean, she still got some ways to go, but seeing hair within days was pretty amazing to me.
Yeah. And we're recording right now in August, and you guys started care for her in June this year. So yeah, to echo that is fast and
that
amazing.
Is super
and
fast.
Also just say from over here, like, in some ways it's ordinary. Like, once we understand what's going on, like, we see this regularly, not that it's like such a common event, right? Because you think like autoimmune alopecia, okay, well, the immune system's just going to attack the hair follicles and that's it. But in my opinion, there's always a reason that the immune system is attacking some part of the self or that person's body. And strep can exist in the hair follicles, and that can be part of what prompts that autoimmune activity. So I just love a lot always when we do clarity calls. I'm going to make my best recommendation. We love lab work. We love data. And also sometimes we don't need all of those parts to see a lot of movement. And it really can be like a start with an intake. Let's work a protocol, see where that leaves us. We don't have to uncover every single rock to see what's exactly there. We can function off of symptoms and see where that will get us. But I do want your feedback, I guess, on, like, you are holistic minded. You've been places with Olivia before you even came here for yourself. What was it like to reach out for outside support these few times that you did, coming to work with us?
So it's been great, honestly. I mean, I know a lot just from all of her history and just learning about autoimmune disease and how to treat it. But sometimes you just need another outside support to help you out when you're lost. And we were lost this time. So having you guys come in and be like, hey, like this is actually caused from an infection that could be in her body. I didn't know that. And I didn't think that was the case the first time, but maybe it was. So it was really eye-opening to learn about that. And it's nice to know about having the options of homeopathy, and they're amazing. I mean, the treatments work so well and so fast. And I didn't really know about that. So learning about that has been awesome.
What about the difference between, like, our approach at Hey Hey versus other routes that you went, whether it was like traditional pediatrics or conventional insurance covered things? Like, how maybe a difference, good, bad, or ugly, that you experienced there.
Yeah. So if we're talking about Olivia, so like going back to when she was a baby, so she had the eczema we were talking about, and the only thing that they told us we could do was a steroid cream. And they said, use it sparingly. And, what does that mean? So we did that, and it helped a little bit, but it never really made it go away. And, you don't want to keep putting that on a baby's skin. And then, so that wasn't that fun. There's no answer that they gave me, as to why she had eczema. And then working with you guys, we're trying to figure out, why does she have eczema, or why does she have alopecia? Like, why does she have these symptoms? So working with you guys, we're figuring out the why instead of just covering it up with a Band-Aid. So I really appreciate that. And then when she was diagnosed with her alopecia, when we took her to the pediatrician, they told us that all of her hair might fall off of her head, might fall out of her eyelashes, might fall off all of her bodily, leg hair, arm hair, all that stuff can fall off. Just be prepared for that. Here's a pamphlet. Here's a steroid cream. Good luck. So that's what we were told about that. Not the why. They don't even look into that. So having somebody else look into that for you, that's been life-changing.
If you've been wanting to transform your health but don't know where to start, I've got you. My full color cookbook is much more than recipes. It's a 300-page crash course in healing through food. You'll get 125 plus gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free meals the whole family will love, plus step-by-step guides on shopping smarter, improving digestion, and making your kitchen a healing place. It's gorgeous, practical, and designed to make healthy living simple. Grab your copy at heyheymae.com/cookbook and start changing your health one delicious bite at a time. I love that, and I hate that, because I think the two settings are different. Absolutely. And we're definitely more on the educational side, and we have more time, and we do have the luxury of not being interplaying with insurance and stuff, but there's more explanation to a lot of things, and there's more, how do things function? A plus B equals C. It's not this big mystery. And I think our generation is starting to figure that out more, that the medical system is great and it's wonderful for cute things. And you better take me to the hospital if I get in a car accident, please do.
Absolutely.
But, and it's not there to educate us, and it's not there to figure it out. It's really there for acute care. So that being said, functional care in this route is more of a financial investment, and it's something that isn't covered by insurance.
Nope. How
did your family approach thinking about the cost? Because that's always a big hurdle for people when they're diving into something that's totally new, or a different system, or, another thing that maybe won't work. How do you guys think about and kind of approach that?
So it's a huge factor, and we always have a big discussion whether or not we need to reach out to a holistic practitioner, because it is so expensive. So first, we usually try to do everything on our own that we can, that we know. And when that doesn't work, our kids' health is top priority. So that's when we will reach out for help.
And then do you feel like the value is there for the investment that you've
100%.
made of both money, time?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, for sure.
What do you wish people knew more about approaching functional space versus a conventional, or even what do you wish people knew more about in relation to stuff you've learned on the journey with your kids?
I guess that, it's okay to be different. It's okay to ask questions, not that doctors are bad, but they don't always give you the answers that you want to hear. And there are other answers out there, and there are people who know other things. So it's okay to go against the grain, ask questions, go to the library, read a book. Try to figure it out yourself. It's okay. I think that, like, especially as first-time moms, like, our first instinct is to go to the doctor for anything that's wrong with our child. And maybe that's right, maybe it's wrong, but, like, ask another mom, like, ask somebody who's been through it, So it's okay.
I do think I think that's really powerful, because especially after COVID, like, our mom community is different. Like, my boys are 11, 9. So I had them pre-COVID, and I was more immersed in mom community and just around other women and, like, seeing kids with same stuff my kids have. And I would imagine that post-COVID, we're still we are still generally isolated a bit. Community has changed, but there's so much power in the parent community because we have all been through things with our kids. We don't all talk about it always, but other people have wisdom that we may not have. Last question I always ask, and that I think is really important and helps us understand, especially those of us who don't have or haven't dealt with chronic illness of any variety. How have you and your family, your children felt loved well while working through the various chronic illness challenges, seasons?
So a big part of our chronic illness in this family is food. So we are a gluten-free family. Not everybody eats gluten-free, but I cook gluten-free. And Olivia has to be gluten-free. She does have a true allergy. So the way that I make my kids feel loved is I always make sure that they have something special. If we're going to a party, I will always bake them something or bring them something special. One thing I'd like to share is about Olivia, actually. So the past few Halloweens, I actually went door to door and I handed out a letter asking neighbors to give out a non-candy item for her. And the way the communities have shown up for her has been amazing. So just like doing things like that for my kids to show them like you are important, you are loved. I know you don't get to eat everything that everybody else does, but you know, here's a special treat for you to make you feel special.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my love language with food.
Yeah, I think it's so hard too. And it's one of those things that we talk through a lot in care with adults or kids is like the diet change. And sometimes it's necessary for a season. And other times with Olivia, it's necessary for like ever. And the grief that comes with that. And especially if we're a child, like I'm slightly more in the South than you are, but basically food is the love language around these parts. Like we are doing and feeding and socializing with food. And it's so weird to have that option really removed, but it's also so normal to remember that there are other ways and means of loving on. And I just love that you did that. And also it teaches people, right? Because like people who don't know what gluten are or never have dealt with it, like earnestly, they may have had no contact with somebody. It would never dawn on them just to give a non-food item at Halloween. No. But I'm sure it made
she got so many goodies. There was even a lady who came to our door and she brought her $10. Like it was just so sweet.
That's so cute.
All the other kids were jealous because she got all the goodies and nobody else did. So they're like, I don't want candy. I want the presents. So
that's so funny. I love that. But that's such a good idea too. We get so many questions at holidays about like, okay, how do we do Easter Bunny stuff? How do we do Christmas cookies? Like there are lots of other things and we have to think differently, but some of it's our American culture's rubbed off on us a little much candy and but
I know.
Anywho, well, I really appreciate you sharing that and just sharing the story of all three of you and just how easy and helpful simple care can be. I hope that it bridges a gap for people who are thinking about moving into this way of thinking about health. Thanks for listening. I hope you're leaving encouraged, curious, and hopeful. If you learned something, I'd love for you to share this episode with a friend. Hey, we're all healing together. You can learn more about my practice, our team, and what it's like to work with us at heyheymay.com. I teach lots on Instagram and answer questions each Monday. My Instagram handle is at heyheylizabethmay. You can watch these episodes and more on our YouTube channel at heyheymay. Learn about and enjoy our homeopathic line at heyheyhomeopathics.com. Happy healing!